today's event, and
this meeting is being recorded.
And I will be your moderator. And as has just been reminded by that rather rude announcement, the meeting is being recorded as per the slide that you see now. This is because we want to use today's presentation to communicate to others who are unable to attend about the portal. So again, you can see on the slide a number of housekeeping issues. Please keep your microphone on mute when not speaking. Please only turn your camera on when you are asking a question or speaking. However, if you do not wish your face or words to be recorded, you may ask any questions that you have through the chat function. The chat function can also be used for any technical connection problems that you may have and is being monitored. So as was mentioned in the invitation that was sent out, the Team Europe Partnerships Portal is a culmination of 2 years of process involving hundreds of email exchanges, countless brainstorming sessions, and many presentations made to partners around the world. Today, we'll be inviting you to find out more about how to use the portal, how to navigate it, how to upload data, and how partner countries can use it to forge partnerships with European providers, both private and public, as well as with financial organizations. So there will be 3 presentations today. First, we will have Fiona Ramsey, who's the head of unit at INTPA's Effective Development Policy and Team Europe unit, Unit D1. We'll then have an explanation of the portal by Inga Navadaskiena, who is also from INTPA's Unit T1, and she is the Team Europe Partnerships Portal Senior Project Manager. Then Lilith Mühlberg, who is a user experience designer at Trinidad Wiseman, will go into more details of how you can practically use the portal. And then we will finally move to a question and answer session. So if you can hold your questions to the end, we'd be grateful. And you can ask questions either by raising a hand or by putting a question in the chat. I would just ask you, if you don't mind identifying yourself, to identify yourself with your name and organization. This will make it easier for our panel to tailor their answer to you. So without further ado, I'm going to hand over to Fiona Ramsey, who's head of unit at INTPA D1. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Matthew. Can you hear me fine? Yep. Perfect. And good morning, everybody. My job is really to welcome you to this session, and perhaps I'll just spend a few minutes to give you an overview of how we see the work of the Team Europe portal fitting into larger Team Europe efforts that we are taking forward as European institutions with our member states. So as Matthew mentioned, this has been a 2-year effort. It's a joint effort between the European Commission, our directorate DG INTPA, and the Estonian Ministry of Foreign Affairs. It came out of the launching of Team Europe, which was part of our collective response to the COVID pandemic, and has since developed to I would say to further our efforts in responding as Team Europe to partner countries in many different areas of our work. So you will see that Team Europe has been taken forward in our efforts on programming future EU funding. It's been taken forward in efforts around looking at the financial architecture, and the portal we see is another part of the puzzle in order to really provide an open window to all the different types of European expertise that we have collectively across our member states. And in that respect, it responds to a number of council conclusions that we've had at a political level, as well as to requests for, I would say, greater transparency, perhaps, of the different types of expertise that we, as Team Europe can bring and put at service to our partner countries. So I'm hoping that you're all fully conversant with Team Europe and its efforts going forward to really scale up the way that we support our partner countries by working together and bringing all our instruments and modalities to focus on specific initiatives. So as Matthew mentioned, the portal is here to provide support. It's very much built around a matchmaking function, providing a window on the offer and expertise that member states and their different structures, organizations can provide to partners. It should therefore provide a way to, I would say, identify innovative and effective tools and support modalities that can help our partner countries achieve the Sustainable Development Goals, and in doing so, of course, reduce poverty, address inequality, bring and build inclusive and sustainable societies. So in terms of our ambition for the portal, I think we very much see it as a means to promote international partnerships further, to help better coordinate the resources that we as Team Europe can bring to the table and can provide to partner countries, and also a platform by which we can more transparently and visually find all these find all the different resources and assistance that in one place and in a user-friendly manner. But in order to make it really user-friendly and to ensure that the portal responds to your needs as users, responds to our partner countries' ambitions, respond also perhaps to our political ambitions for the portal in terms of really bringing about this matchmaking process, it's really critical that we have input from people, from users. And so we're very happy that you're able to join us as pilot users today. We hope that you will be able to provide us with lots of different perspectives from your first interactions with the portal, and we look forward to developing it hand in hand with you, because without your input, I don't think that we will have a portal that that responds to users' requirements. So with that, I'm going to wish you the very best of discussions for the rest of the morning. And we look forward to launching the portal in the near future, and therefore hope that this pilot experience goes very well. And I think then I pass over to Inga. Is that correct, Matthew?
Yeah, thank you very much, Fiona. Yes, Inga, who is the portal senior project manager, will now give a further introduction to the portal. Thank you.
Thank you very much to Fiona, also to Matthew. Good morning and welcome everyone to our webinar. I think I will build on what Fiona has so nicely put. Indeed, without you, we will not be able to carry the work and the Team Europe Partnership Portal, and also to achieve its main goals. But to start with, I think that it is crucial to clarify the roles and the responsibilities of the main users that we are expecting to have as a part of our Team Europe Partnership Portal. And therefore, what we would like to offer is to diversify between the two groups of the users, the registered users and non-registered ones. So when it comes to the registered users, we talk about the people who will be able to access to the closed group of the portal and literally use all its functions that are meant actually to encourage the partnerships and to do the matchmaking. So therefore, we start with the Team Europe providers, so public or private entities from the European Union member states. So the Team Europe providers are the owners and are responsible for the registration and management. So it means the creation and update and the deletion of their own applications, and also the fishes, being it the providers or the donor fishes that we call in our Team Europe Partnership Portal, that will be explained later on by my colleague Lilith. So in order to make sure that the applications that are uploaded and the data is accurate along the time. And also the applications will include the information about their goods and services and what they can offer to our partner countries. Down the hill, we have partner countries, of course. They are the main recipients. We call it beneficiaries in the framework of our Team Europe Partnership Portal. So they will be also playing an important and active role in it by requesting a support needed from the Team Europe partners. So it means the information that will be uploaded in the form of the beneficiary application form, identifying clearly the local needs, being it in the sector, you know, or the services or goods that they need to achieve their sustainable development goals. We also have a Team Europe donors. It's a public and private entities from the EU member states, including the private foundations or philanthropic organizations, also the political foundations that are interested in pledging the financial support in order to either fund the services and the goods that the providers are willing to provide to the local countries or provide the support to the local partners. It also includes the European Investment Bank and in the future, the European Bank of Reconstruction and Development. You know, so the donors may be able also to provide the information in the form of the fish, which will be called the donor fish, where they will be able to pledge actually the information about all possible investment opportunities that they are willing to provide. And then we talk about the non-registered users. So non-registered users are member states and member states embassies and offices in the field. We talk about the EU delegations, the organizations in principle that operate in the field, have a lot of contacts with our partner countries, may know the needs of the partner countries and can support us actually in the contributing to the implementation and communication about the Team Europe Partnership Portal. Also screening the goods and services, the matchmaking them with the partners, country needs, you know, connecting with the suitable partners from the Team Europe family, you know, in order in the future to support the Team Europe initiatives, but also to utilize this database, you know, for expanding their own networks, expanding their own knowledge about the existing services, goods that can be provided by the Team Europe family, and also by the local needs, even in the country where they operate. So to encourage the partnerships and to assist our countries. So on that note, I think that, and without going more detail into the administrative part of the portal, that after the presentation of the Lilith, maybe Felipe Arroyo will be willing to say a couple of words, because he's the real person behind the Team Europe Partnership Portal that will be managing and assisting our registered users in the matchmaking process, and also to confirm that we will not rely on the algorithm, that we will have a manpower behind to succeed in this project. Thank you, and I hand it over to Lilith.
Hello, everyone. And I shall also share my screen. Oh, here we go. So I will guide you through the user journey, which is what you will be able to see and do when you go into portal. This particular presentation is based on a prototype. So we have these like predetermined data fields and everything, but in, of course, when you're actually using the portal, it will be all the kinds of things that you'll have to fill out on your own. So I'll start with the very first thing. The user will log on and we'll see this lovely landing page. So there will be a big banner greeting you, apart with information about the types of users who have joined the portal and the kinds of sectors that are represented within. So this is sort of a at first glance idea of what is happening inside the portal. Now, if I keep scrolling down, there's also a map that I can use to sort of get an overview of who's joined from where. And if I click on it, then I can see things like, oh, let's say in this example, Germany, how many providers and donors from there have joined the portal, how many solutions and funding opportunities they have uploaded. If I keep scrolling down, I can see more about why the Team Europe Partnerships portal is what it is and what it's for. And of course, there's things like stories. So maybe there's a successful match made that is good to show, to share, maybe events that are upcoming and so on. So then down here, I can see another glance into what is inside the portal once I log in and I'm actually able to use the features. Because as you can see at the moment, when I go back up top, there's a login button, and there's also just the about page on here that I can also use to read more about the portal, but I can't do anything else until I log in. So let's do that. And as you saw, I didn't use the login button. I actually clicked on one of the sector links here, but that's where I come up against this login prompt. So to be able to actually use the portal, I do have to authenticate myself. Now we will skip the login parts, but as you can see, the menu items up here, they changed. We now have extra items, and I'm able to actually go and see what's happening inside the portal. So I'm a first-time user, and I'm really interested in seeing what's actually on here. So maybe projects, maybe partners. Yes, I think I'll go see what kinds of partners I could find here. So I chose providers. And in this particular view, we've skipped a small step, which is we chose the country to be Germany in this example. So you can see all kinds of providers who have joined the TEPP portal from Germany. I can see there's many more pages, and maybe I want to see more about a particular provider. So then I can click on their card to go into their detail. And this will take me to this page. So I can see and read more about who this provider is, what kind of sectors they work in, what type of an entity it is, what kind of sustainable development goals they're aiming to achieve. And if I want to, I can also click into, let's say, their solutions, what they have uploaded to the portal. So it's a very good comprehensive overview of who they are. And on the left-hand side here, we have this card. It shows the logo of the company, where they're from. But as you can see here, it says, to connect with the organization, you must first add your own to their profile. So at the moment, I'm unable to really get in touch with them, to contact with them or anything. I can see that they exist here, but I can't get in touch. Because for that, I have to be a representative of another organization on my end. And since I am a first-time authenticated user, I'm not yet a registered user, then I'm unable to do that. But before I get around to that, I'll just have a quick overview of what else is on here. So as we previously saw on the providers view, there's also a donors tab. So we can see all kinds of different donors who have joined, and it's the same type of view as for providers. And then the same applies to beneficiaries as well. So we can see in this example, beneficiaries who have joined from Tanzania. And that's the partner side of the portal. And then we also have this find projects part. Under this menu item, we have solutions, funding opportunities, and requests. Let's pick solutions. And as you can see, overall, it's a very similar view to how we can search for partners with some exceptions. So for example, we have specific filters for each type of, in this case, the projects. So solutions have these filters, funding opportunities, we click into them, have their own, and the same applies for requests. And for any one of these, I'm also able to go and have a closer look at them. So let's say in this case, I want to see a solution and I will click into this first one. I get this detail page again with an overview of the sectors applicable for the solution, the SDGs. It helps to achieve the kind of solution it is. And if there are any eligible countries where this can be implemented, then that can be specified as well. Once again, I have an overview of like the description of the solution in this case, possibly a gallery if it helps to illustrate what the solution is, and then optionally any kinds of documents that are relevant to this particular solution. And on the right-hand side, because this time we are looking at a project detail page, we once again have the card of who is offering this. And as before, we can see this text of to connect, I must first make my own organization as well. So let's do just that. For that, I come onto this page called My Organization, which before I have joined an organization myself, the very first time around, I had two options. The first one is to create the organization, and the second is to join one that already exists. So this is to be used based on what my particular situation is. If I already know that my organization has joined TEPP and there is another user, a colleague of mine, who is managing that particular organization, maybe alone right now, then I'm able to click on Join Existing Organization, type into this bar and look it up, fill it out, and it will prompt me with anything that already exists on the portal. Then I have to accept the terms and conditions, and I can submit this request. Now, what happens after this is that my colleague who is already on TEPP with our organization will get a notification about me wanting to join the organization, and then he or she can accept me. And then I will be able to use the portal with a full working approved organization. But now if I go back to the other option, which as pilot users will be the one that will be relevant to you in the beginning, I have to create my organization because it's currently not on the portal. So then I open up this form and I have a 4-step form to fill out. The very first step is for me to fill out the name of the organization, the country I'm from, or where the organization is based, obviously. Then the role of the organization, which I will be fulfilling on TEPP. So as we saw before, we have providers, donors, potentially somebody who's filling both the provider and donor role, and beneficiaries. Then I have to choose the entity status of my organization and its jurisdiction. So let's fill out all of these in this particular example, like this, and then I click continue. Now, the next step that I have to do is to fill out these details. So all the sectors that my organization is working in, the SDGs that we're aiming to achieve, a short description of the company as we saw before on the detail page of the provider. And optionally, if I want to, I can also add the logo of my company and the cover photo for the detail page. So I fill out all of these. I chose agriculture and energy for sectors, no poverty, zero hunger, clean water and sanitation, and climate action for the SDGs. I gave it a small description and added some imagery. And I click continue. Now on the third page, I have to fill out some contact details. The first thing is the address, which is just the physical address of the headquarters of my organization, for example. The next block is the representative part, which is optional. If there's just one particular person who let's say somebody from another organization, let's say a beneficiary, would be able to contact once the match has been made between our two organizations. But it might be that my organization has multiple people who the match might be made with. So maybe I don't want to specify it either. Then the very mandatory part is this contact info box, where at least one of these two must be filled out, either the email or the phone or both. So this is where that's the information that when a match is made in the future will be exchanged between different parties to start potentially working on a very successful partnership then. And finally, optionally, we have some other contact options for social media, our website, and so on. So as before, I will fill out this form. I did give a representative name as well. I gave both an email and a phone number and some extra links down here. And I click continue. Now on the final page, I get an overview of the full form that I've filled out. I can double check if everything is correct, see if anything still needs changing. If I also want to, I can click on preview, which will just show me a page similar to the detail page we saw before. It will just have an extra line that says that it's currently not published, it's just a preview. But I think everything looks fine. So I accept the terms and conditions. And now I submit my organization for review. And this is what Inga mentioned before by saying that there is manpower behind the portal. So there is an actual person who will go over the form, will have a look at it, review it. And if everything is okay, then the admin will be able to approve the organization to be added to the TEPP portal. And if I click here to see my submission, then until it has been accepted, this is what I can see. I can see that it's currently in review, the date I submitted it on, and then all the previous parts of the form that I filled out. Now, if I happen to remember that, oh, I forgot to add an SDG or something, for example, then I can click into these, go into that particular page, fill out the form again, or make the corrections and then just end the form. And it's still submitted for review. It's just I can fix any mistakes that I can notice until the admin has reviewed it. Once the admin has reviewed the submission, then I'm unable to do anything until I get feedback for it either being accepted or then rejected if something needs to be changed. Now, if I am finally accepted by the admin, then I'm able to start actively doing different things on the portal. So the first thing I can show is the submission of different kinds of projects. So in this case, we were a private provider, and we shall go here to this view. The admin has approved my organization. this tab here now shows this chevron. So that means I have access to all of these menu items. And I have an overview page where, since I'm a new user and I've currently not added anything to the portal, then it's prompting me to submit a solution. And in the future, I'll also be able to see connections. Again, there's a solutions tab because that's the kind of thing I can add here right now. I can have an overview of my organization details again, and any users who want to join, but we'll get to that later. So for the moment, I joined, I have my organization approved, and I want to add a solution. So I'll click here to submit one. As with adding an organization, it's a very similar form. This time it's a 3-step one. So we have to add the title of what our solution is, pick the sector and the SDGs again, specify the solution type. And then if there are any eligible countries where this particular solution just can be implemented, then I can specify that. If it's everything, then of course I'll choose everything. I'll fill this out now, gave it a name, pick the sectors, SDGs, specified the solution type, and specified a region. I click continue, and then I get to a details page. So once again, I can give a short description of what the solution is, add any relevant documents, and possibly, if I want to, add some media such as the cover photo and a gallery, which in this example I want to do. So we get this filled out page. Once I'm done with it, I click continue. And as with the organization submission, I can see a full overview of what I just entered into the form, make sure everything is correct. If I want to, I can preview it. And then unlike with the organization where I had to submit it for review, as an approved user, I can now just simply publish this. The admin will still have an overview that something new is added, but it's immediately available to, for example, any potential beneficiaries who might be interested in this solution. And then I can click into it. I can see how it's been published, because at the moment, this is my company, that I can see this full card, which looks different from what we saw before. So it's my organization. I can see the name, I can see all the details, and this kind of card will become available to others when a successful match has been made between 2 different parties. Now I can quickly show for the donors and beneficiaries, it's a very similar process. So for donors, they can see the prompt to add funding opportunities. They can click into it. It's a similar form, but with different fields based on what they need to add. So in this case, we have a funding range, a contribution kind option, the expected start period for the project that would be funded, the funding type, and the expected funding source. So then I fill it out, I click continue, and I can see, once again, a details page, which with the exception of having the option of adding a website, is very similar to the one we had with the provider. For some reason, the prototype started loading. Let's see if I can. Okay, I was able to jump back in the front, but it would show the same type of overview page and then be able to publish it. And lastly, if the same thing applies to beneficiaries who are prompted to add requests, they get their own version of the form. So they can ask, so they have to say whether they already have the funding required to implement whatever solution they are looking for. Then they can detail what they need to resolve, what they need help with, or what kind of support they need. And then once again, get an overview page, publish it, and view it. So it's a very similar process for all different types of partners. It's just with their own particular details, dependent on who they are and what they need to add here. And once we have both, we have solutions, we have requests, what we have our own organization just added to the portal, what becomes available to us is this process of matchmaking. So in this particular example, I am a beneficiary and I'm looking for a provider to help me with something. So I already saw that this provider here has something that I would be interested in implementing. So I want to get in touch with them. I want to make a match so we can hopefully start a partnership from this. As the beneficiary, I will click into their detail in this example, and I could also do it under the solution, but in this case, I'm going with the provider donor detail. Once again, I think the prototype is just a little big, so that's why it's loading a little bit. Okay, and we click back into it. So now that I am a beneficiary with an approved organization on the portal, the card that I can see on other users or other entities pages becomes different. The message here is now I can connect with them to start building a successful partnership, and I can send them a contact request. So that is exactly what I'll do. I know I want to get in touch with them, and hopefully they'll be able to help me. Now it says it's waiting for approval. So until they approve this match on their side, I'm unable to do anything further. So let's go and have a look at what the provider is seeing on their end. So now in the role of the provider, I come to my organization tab and to the connections page that we saw before on the menu here. And as you can see, under this waiting for approval tab, I have one thing waiting for me to have a look at it. And it's the beneficiary who wanted to get in touch with me. So if I want to, I can click into their own detail, have a closer look at who they are, where they're from, etc. But let's say I've already done that. Let's say I already know that, yes, this looks like a very fruitful partnership potentially, and I want to be able to support them. So I will approve this request. And now since I approved it, it goes under this accepted tab. So it's here now. And it opened up to me so I can see who is the particular representative for this entity. I can see their contact details. And this is where I am able to start getting in touch with them to, and they will see the same on their page. They'll be able to see my entity's card so they can get in touch with me. And we can start talking about whatever it is that might need support, how to do it, how we could potentially help them. Now, if I also go back to the beneficiary's point of view, then as before, if I want to pick out I can also go under my organizations, but in this example, let's say I'm looking at find partners and I knew I could find them right here as before. So now if I click into their entity detail view, then as you can see, this card on the left-hand side is open to me. And as I mentioned, as the beneficiary, I can also see who is the representative if that person has been determined and what are the contact details that I could use to get in touch with them to talk about how they could potentially support my entity, because I already saw that, oh, they have a solution that would be perfect for our question here. So I can get in touch with them and start a partnership. And then other than that, there's a couple of additional details. So if we go into our user dashboard, then in this example, I am a provider donor. I've not added anything from this view, but I can have a look at any potential connections that I've already made. So as you can see, I've requested 2 and I'm waiting to hear back from them. I've also accepted 3, so I can get in touch with these entities for any kind of partnership purposes. Nothing is currently waiting for my approval. Now in the future, if I've also added something, then the solutions tab will show any and all of my solutions that I can have a look at. I can add new ones from here. I can also have a look at my funding opportunities. And then this organization tab, which is very similar to before the organization is approved. We just see this like in review version of it. But this particular version now is approved, and that's before, let's say the entity undergoes rebranding or something, then I can go into the details page, update the logo and such. So these things can be not approved, but these things can be changed over time and updated to make sure that all the details are always up to date. And then this final tab down here is users, which is what I mentioned when talking about how one can join an existing organization when they are a first-time authenticated user who hasn't registered yet. So in this example, I'm somebody in this provider donor entity. If I click into approve, let's say I'm Marianne Wilkins in this example. So me and another colleague are both approved to be users of this particular organization. We have access to add solutions and funding opportunities. We can both change details of the organization. And now under in review, another one of our colleagues wants to join. And we already know that we were expecting to see this. So I have 2 options. I can either approve or reject him, but I already know it's the real user. It's an actual colleague. So I will click here. And this user now moves under the approved tab. And they will also have access to all of these menu points. They will also be able to add solutions. They will also be able to manage our entity on the TEPP portal. Of course, if somebody mistakenly adds themselves, then you can always reject it, and you can then see these rejected users here. Now, under project management, which is one more detail, in this case, I'm in the role of a beneficiary who has requests. So I've added a couple of requests, and I'll click into one of these. Similar to how we have the organization view, we also have these details for all the projects that have been added. And I can do a couple of different things with solution or funding opportunity or request, dependent on who I am. I can similarly edit and change any details if something gets specified or changed. And then additionally, I have this actions tab here. So I can do two things. I can either unpublish something if temporarily it becomes something that can't be resolved or needs more time to be detailed, so I can update some details without it already being published on the portal. Or let's say this particular request gets resolved. I have a partner, we're working with them and already on implementing the solution that we needed. So I don't need anyone to come and offer a solution for this particular request anymore, then I can delete this as well. So if I click delete, it'll prompt and ask, are you sure? Of course. And in this case, I know that, yes, I don't need help with this anymore. So I click delete, and now it's removed from this requests page. But overall, this covers the sort of main user journey on the TEPP portal, from joining to creating and joining existing organizations, to searching for partners or solutions, etc., and to making matches and finding partners for anything that you might need support with or be able to provide support with. And I would like to then hand it over back to either Inga or Matthew.
Thank you very much for that, Lilith. It was a very comprehensive run through on everything that the Team Europe Partnerships portal can do. I'm sure that that's generated a number of questions, and I'd like to open the floor now to anyone who has a question. If you want to raise your hand, you can use the reactions function at the bottom of the screen, on the tab at the bottom of your screen. There's also the option to put a question in the chat. I don't currently see any questions in the chat, but I'll just give people some time to think about their questions, and please do raise your hand or put your question in the chat function. And if you can identify yourself with your name and organization, as I said, it will make it much easier for our panel to tailor their answers to you. So I see a question in the chat from Daniel Masegoso from AECID Madrid, and he's asking, can donors insert ongoing solutions as examples, or do they just register the amounts available for funding as funding opportunities? How are donors registered, and will those solutions only be available in the future? Who would like to answer that question? It might be one for you, Inga.
Yes, indeed, Matthew. I think that I will try to take up the ISID question and answer one by one. So first of all, can donors insert the ongoing solutions? I think it depends. So as Lilith presented, you have a donor profile where you can quickly describe, about your organization and also the funding available and in which sectors and for which SDGs you would like to actually fund either the solution or support the partner country, in their request for the need. So that means that there are two options. Either you only provide the funding opportunity, or indeed you have an ongoing solution and you have availability, to integrate the current request of the beneficiary country, or you see that within this ongoing solution, you can also fund the solution that is put in the providers list from the EU member state, entities. So I would simply say, yes, it is possible to integrate the ongoing solution, provided that it matches also with what is put in the provider's fish and in the beneficiary fish. Then how is the registration of the donors? So we follow the same path. So first and the most, you need to go through the authentication with the ECAS password. So that's the first step, to become a registered user. The second step is to register your organization. And the third step is to fill in the application, meaning as a donor, you would fill in a donor's fish. Solutions are only future. Again, it depends how you see the solution. I think solutions mainly apply for the providers in our case when we talk about the Team Euro Partnership Portal. And it depends. It can be also a bigger ongoing program, you know, where you see an opportunity of providing a solution to one of the components, right? So in this case, it would be part of the something ongoing, but you can ultimately also encode a provider's fish with the future solution. Indeed, what you think your organization can contribute to. And this is what will be matched with the needs of the beneficiary country. I hope that this replies to your question.
It has. Daniel has said in the chat that thank you for the answer and that everything has been answered. So as you can see, Inga is providing good answers to all your questions. So I still don't see any more questions in the chat. Does anybody want to raise their hand and ask any further questions? I assume the reticence is just because it's early on a Monday morning rather than the fact that there are no questions. I'm sure there are plenty.
I'm also thinking that there might be plenty questions that our pilot users would like to ask. I think we could take an occasion also, Matthew, to announce that in the future, what we are planning is to organize a separate webinars by the specific group of the Team Euro Partnership Portal users, meaning one specifically targeting the providers, another webinar targeting the donors, and the third webinar targeting the beneficiary countries. So pretty sure that during those in-depth webinars per each group, I think we will have more specific questions, and there we will dig in to examples that were already raised by the ISID, you know, how to, for example, fill in the application form when you have an ongoing program or project and you would like to be visible in the Team Euro Partnership Portal, or what to do when you have a completely new solution. Alternatively, also how you can publicize your success stories, which is another thing where you can indeed show the achievements done through the matchmaking portal, but also at the beginning, I think to even to stimulate, you know, the matchmaking itself, we can draw on existing, you know, success stories that, for example, one or another registered user would like to promote. So this is where we foresee new stories, success stories tab on the landing page. So I think this is also to be taken into consideration, that each registered user will have a possibility to promote itself. I think that is very important for organizations.
Thank you, Inga. I don't have any more in the chat, and I don't see any hands up. So I really am. If there are no further questions, I'm going to ask my colleague Rodrigo to put up the final slide, if you don't mind.
Yes, just one moment.
Thank you. That seems to be taking some time to come through. So hopefully as it comes through, I can just more or less go through what it says. So what we'd like you to do now in terms of next steps for the Team Europe Partnerships portal is to visit the prototype portal and to get acquainted with it. We want you to access your profile and to fill in your details. And once you've done that, we'll be sending around a survey to in the near future, and we're going to ask you to provide us with your feedback on your experience. Again, in that survey, you can add any issues that you faced or any questions that you still have about the functioning of the portal. So it's really important, as has been said by Fiona and Inga at the beginning of this session, that the test users are absolutely crucial to the success of the portal, and we want to get your feedback on what is working, what is not working, and what improvements you would like to see. So I think the slide is up now. So those are the next steps. So please look for a survey that will be sent around by my colleague Rodrigo, and we look forward to hearing your feedback. Inga, did you want to close with any final remarks?
Yes, thank you, Matthew. So I think first of all, once again, to thank everyone who find the time this morning to connect to us and to listen to our presentation. Also to stress the importance of taking this exercise seriously, because only by doing it together we can succeed. And call on everyone to look at the portals, portal acceptance development stage. Look into it and participate in our survey that will be circulated right after this session, and also spread a good word around your colleagues, around other organizations that you know in your networks, that European Commission together with the Estonian Ministry of Foreign Affairs it has developed this portal. And we're entering into the stage of the loading the data, which is essentially the most important part before we present the Team Europe Partnership Portal to the general public, which might happen in spring. Also to connect to our communication experts, Matthew and Rodrigo, which with your permission, we will share your email addresses and they will follow it up. In case you have any additional questions, please do not also hesitate to send an email to our functional mailbox, Team Europe Partnership Portal support group, where Philip and myself will follow up on any question that you might have, and will dedicate all our time to guide you through the survey and through other questions and needs that you might have. So we're building slowly the group of the Team Europe Partnership Portal partners, and we hope that in coming 3 years, we will manage to have a decent registered users number that we will be proud to share with you, and you will be able to utilize the Team Europe Partnership Portal with its all benefits for your organizations, connecting with other partners within the Team Europe family, and also with our beneficiary countries. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody, and have a good day. Bye-bye.
So thank you for attending today's webinar on the Team Europe Partnerships Portal, a new online matchmaking tool to help foster partnerships between team members of Team Europe and partner countries. I'm Rodrigo Solanho from Equaries, the company facilitating today's event, and I'll be your moderator. So please note, as per the warning you've just heard, that this session is being recorded so that it can be used to communicate about the portal to those who are unable to be here today. As was mentioned in our invitation, this is the combination of a 2-year process involving hundreds of email exchanges, countless brainstorming sessions, and many presentations made to partners around the world. Today, we'll be inviting you to find out more about how to use the portal, how to navigate it and upload data, and how partner countries can use it to forge partnerships with European providers in the private and public sectors, as well as financial organizations. There will be 3 presentations today. First, an introduction by Nicolas Tozzo, Deputy Head of Unit from DG INTPA's Effective Development Policy and Team Europe. So D1, 5 to 10 minutes. Then we have a further explanation by Inga Navardowskieni from the Team Europe Partnerships Senior Project Manager, and then a presentation from Lili Schmulberg, User Experience Designer at Trinidad Wisemans. And this will be all followed by a Q&A. You can ask questions by raising your hands or by putting a question in the chat. I would ask you that you identify yourself with your name or organization to make it easier for us to tailor your answers if you so desire. So now I would pass on to Nicholas.
Thank you very much, Rodrigo. Welcome, dear all. Thank you very much for joining us this afternoon and for taking your time to facilitate the development of the Team Europe Partnership Portal, the TEPP, and maybe just to quickly recall what the portal is about. So, I mean, the TEPP, it's a joint effort between the European Commission's DG INTPA and Estonia's Ministry of Foreign Affairs. So for us, it's really one of the flagships of Team Europe, of the Team Europe approach. The idea of the TEPP is for it to be a platform to support partner countries to find innovative, effective, and efficient tools to help achieve the Sustainable Development Goals, and to eradicate poverty, address inequality, and to build inclusive and sustainable societies. So the idea of the platform is to create a bridge between members of Team Europe and the partner countries and support really the emergence of new partnerships. And maybe just to reflect a bit on the key benefits of the TEPP. So it's really to promote international partnerships, to flag priority areas for cooperation and to coordinate resources. And it should provide a platform for partner countries to access Team Europe assistance. And the purpose really to leverage and to maximize the existing capacity of the EU and its member states at the global, regional, and partner and country level. And that would already be it from my part. So I wish you a fruitful and successful webinar this afternoon, and thank you again very much for your participation. So Rodrigo and Inga, over to you. Thank you very much.
Yes, thank you very much, Nicholas, for a nice and short introduction of the Team Europe Partnership Portal. And welcome to our team as well, because you are our new deputy head of unit. So it's your first intervention on the Team Europe Partnership Portal, and a lot will come in coming weeks and months. So glad to have you, and once again, welcome to our team. So indeed, the Team Europe Partnership Portal will provide a transparent information database about the European technical expertise, and we hope it will reinforce our partnership between the European Union member states, but also with our partner countries, and will disclose actually a wide potential of the European technical assistance. So to start, and before giving a floor to the Lilith, I would like to once again highlight the most important features and the key users of the Team Europe Partnership Portal, which of course includes the European Union delegations, the member states, embassies or offices in the field, but also member state implementing agencies in the form of the providers or donors, and of course our partner countries. So we classify the users of the Team Europe Partnership Portal into two groups, the registered users and non-registered users. So when we talk about the registered users, we mainly speak about the Team Europe providers. So it's a public or private entities from the European Union member states, our partner countries, and also Team Europe donors. Donors includes also the public and private entities from the European Union member states. It includes also private foundations, philanthropic organizations, and finance institutions and implementing agencies. And besides the European Investment Bank, but also in the future, the European Bank for Reconstruction and Development. So what are the differences between the provider, the donor, and the beneficiary, and what are the functions? So the Team Europe providers are the owners, and they are responsible for the registration and of course management of the creation, update, and deletion of their organization, but also their applications. So they are also in charge of the data accuracy in time. The applications would include, of course, the information, a short description of the organization about the services or goods that they can provide to the partner countries, and it will be called an project fish or provider's fish. The partner countries, of course, will also be called to include the information within the framework of the beneficiary fish. And of course, we will reach out to the partner countries with the support of our European Union delegations. The donors, they may request to include the information. It is not obligatory, but they also will be able to publish their financial and investment opportunities that could fog actually the matchmaking, and strengthen the cooperation between the beneficiaries and the European Union technical assistance providers, meaning that when there are local needs, but the partner country doesn't have the funding. So I think this is where the donor will be able to step in order to allow the service and goods provider actually to reflect to the call from the partner country. INTPA services, of course, INTPA D1 will play a major role because the Team Europe partnership portal will be managed, will be continued managed by the INTPA services. We just want to show that the Team Europe partnership portal and the matchmaking facility will not be driven by the algorithm. We will have, of course, a human power behind it. And I'm happy to say that we have our colleague, Felipe Arroyo, who is a portfolio manager for the Team Europe Partnership Portal, and will be the person managing the requests, organizations, validation processes behind the algorithm. When it comes to the non-registered users, of course, the portal will be open globally to the general public, to international organizations, to the member states, meaning the same embassies and the offices in the field, and to our European Union delegations. What are the expectations and contributions that can be provided by those offices? So basically, they will contribute to the implementation and communication about the Team Europe Matchmaking Portal. They will be also able to screen the goods and the services. So basically to screen the organizations that are included in the Team Europe Partnership Portal, and also the applications, solutions, or the financial contributions that can be offered to our partner countries. So they also will be able to connect and also to step into the matchmaking with the suitable partners when it's needed. For example, for the future Team Europe initiatives, or even for a joint projects if decided. On this note, I'm handing over the floor to Lilith, my colleague from the Estonia, who is representing for the time being the, of course, as a webmaster, web designer of the Team Europe Partnership Portal, her organization, but also she steps in for the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, our partner in this joint project. Thank you.
Thank you, Inga. And I am now sharing my screen, and I will be guiding you through the end user journey of all of the users. So there are things that are common for all types of users, but then there are some slight differences between the role-specific forms, but I will be showing you all of this and what can be done on the portal from the end user side. So the very first time you come onto the website, this is what will greet you. It will be the landing page of the Team Europe Partnerships portal, which along with a lovely big banner, has this sort of glance into what is inside the portal once you log in. So for the moment, it's just this sort of sneak peek into the types of users we have and the types of sectors that are represented. Then additionally, we have this map below here, which will give us this visual overview of the different countries who have some sort of entities who are representing them on the portal. So for example, in this little demo, I can click here and showcase that Germany has a number of providers and donors, as well as this many solutions and funding opportunities in this example. Now, if I keep scrolling down, we also get this overview of why the Team Europe Partnerships portal is what it is and what it's for. And additionally, we have a section for featured stories, which could be anything from events to successful matches made, etc. And another little glance into what is inside the portal once you log in. But other than that, from the landing page, if I'm not authenticated yet, the only other thing I can do is see the About page, where I can read a little bit more about the TEPP. But now, if I want to actually start doing things on the portal, I will have to log in. In addition to the login button up there, anything that already gives me an insight into what's happening behind the login wall will prompt me to log in. So that is exactly what we will do. And once we go through the login process, this is what the landing page will look like. So now we have these extra menu items over here, which allows us to access the actual information provided by the portal for all of its users. In this case, I'm a new first-time user. I haven't joined an entity or added it to the portal myself, but I am authenticated. So not yet registered, but I am authenticated. And that gives me this option of already looking into who is here. And let's say the first thing I want to do is I'll have a look at some of the partners on here, maybe the beneficiaries list. And this will give me an overview of, in this example, the selection that I've shown. It sort of skips a step where I've already chosen that I want to see beneficiaries from Tanzania. So it filters them out based on that one particular filter. And I can see all kinds of different entities who have joined the TEPP from there. There are additional filters as well that could be used. And this applies to all different kinds of partners. So if I go from beneficiaries to, let's say, donors, then in this case, this is sort of the initial view without any filters applied, everyone who's joined, and I can see who they are, where they're from, and some sort of small description of them, and so on. And the same applies for the providers view, where in this example, I filtered out Germany's entities, and I can see providers from Germany. Now, for all of these partners, I can also take a closer look at who they are and what they're doing. So in this example, let's have a closer look at this entity. I click into it, and it takes me to this new detail page where I can see a nice big cover photo. I can see the types of roles that they're filling in this portal and representing. I can see an overview of the sectors that they're working in, the type of entity it is, and the SDGs they're aiming to achieve. I can also see a description of the entity. And additionally, because they are fulfilling both the provider and donor role, they have these tabs for solutions and funding opportunities. So if I click here, I can see various types of solutions that they've added to the portal. On the left-hand side, we have this card, which shows the logo and the country that the provider is from. But as it says here, to connect with the organization, I must first add my own organization to your profile. So this is the sort of first introduction to the matchmaking feature, which at the moment, because I'm a new user and I don't yet have my own organization here, is telling me that I need to be a representative of an organization to start any sort of matchmaking between other providers and donors, etc. But before we go to that, I'll also go over the projects view. So next to find partners, we have find projects, and I can go here to see the kinds of things that the other users on the portal have added here underneath their own entity then. So for solutions, we get a very similar view to how the partners view was, with the exception of on the left-hand side, the filters are now specific to the solutions search. So I can have a look at, let's say, I could filter them by solution type, for example. And I get this list of most recently added solutions on this page. And it's the same type of view for funding opportunities, which has its own separate filters this time. So this is specific to funding opportunities with its funding type and expected funding source and expected start periods filters, for example. And the same for requests, where we have different kinds of filters, again, that are specific to these project types. And similarly to the partner view, these also have their own detailed views. So I can say that maybe I'm interested in seeing what the solution looks like. I click into it, and it once again takes me to a big detail page with more information that covers this particular solution. And it's been submitted then by this particular provider on the right-hand side here. So once again, we have sectors, sustainable development goals, the solution type. In this case, countries that are eligible where this particular solution can be implemented, and the description of it. Additionally, if the provider has decided to do so, there's a gallery here in this example and any other additional documents that are relevant to this solution. As before, since I'm still a first-time user with no organization of my own, the card on the right-hand side is telling me that I must add my own organization to be able to connect, aka matchmake, with other entities. So the next step that we will do is precisely that. When I'm a first-time user and I click into my organization on the main menu here, this is what I'll be greeted with. It's this view that prompts me to do one of two things. If I'm a user who I know that no one else from my company or entity or organization has joined, then the only thing for me to do is to create my own organization, which is the first step here. If I know that another colleague of mine or somebody has already added our organization to the TEPP, then I'm able to join it instead of creating a duplicate instance of the organization, which is the shorter route. So I will quickly show the quicker option. If you already know that somebody has added you to the portal, then you click on Join Existing Organization. You search for it by name, and then it'll prompt you with the option of what is already on the portal, filtering it down as you type. In this case, I found that it's here. I accept the terms and conditions, and then I can submit the request to be added to that organization. Now, this is something that will have to be done by a colleague of mine, and I'll just have to wait until it's been done to be able to access my organization's detailed view. But if we go back to me being a first-time user with no organization, no colleagues who've already added it to the TEPP, then I have to do it myself and click on Create Organization. This will bring me to this new form, which is a 4-step form to create a submission for the admin that Inga mentioned earlier on, who will be looking over this submission later on then. The very first step is the general overview of the organization. So you add in the name of the organization, the country it's based in, the role you will be taking on in the TEPP, the entity status and jurisdiction. So let's say in this example, I'll fill it out like this with these details. I'm satisfied with everything, no errors show up, and I click continue. Now, the next step to do is to specify the sector or sectors of your organization, as well as the SDGs. Additionally, another part is to provide a short description of my organization. And optionally, if I want to, I can add the logo and the cover photo for the detail page we saw before. So let's do all of that. I picked the sectors, the SDGs, provided a description, and added a couple of visual elements. And I click continue. Now, the third step is the contact step, which is important for the card that we saw on the left and right hand side, dependent on whether I was looking at a partner's detail or a project detail. So the first part is the address itself for the headquarters. Then the next step, which is optional, is the one of the representative. So once a match has been made and the information that gets shared between two entities is opened up to them via the card that we saw, this is the sort of information where we can show if there's just one person responsible for these partnership communications, then this is whose name should be put in here. If, however, I know that it's not just one person, it could be multiple people, then I'll just leave it empty. And the actually most important part comes next, which is the contact info. So either or both email and phone number. So those are the crucial bits of information that get shared during the successful matchmaking process, where this provides people or the representatives of an organization the opportunity to get in touch and start working on a partnership. And then the last bit of information for me to provide is any sort of social media and website information. It's all optional, so however I decide to fill it out. So let's do just that. I provided the address. I added a representative for my organization in this case. I also added both the email and the phone number and some social media and website information. And now coming to the last page of the form, I get an overview of everything I just submitted to this. So I can see if everything looks correct, that I didn't forget anything, see if I'm happy with it. If I want to, I can also preview it, which gives me a similar view to what we saw before for the detail page. It just will have this small mark that will tell you it's not a published version. But I think I'm happy with everything, looks good. So I click I accept terms and conditions, and I submit this for review. Now, this means that this will land on the TEPP admin side of the portal, where they will be able to go over the details, check if everything looks correct on their side, and if everything is fine, they can approve the submission, and then the organization will be added to the TEPP portal. In the meanwhile, however, I can still view my submission. So until then, it will be in this in review status where I'm able to still make changes if I find that I missed something. Perhaps I discover, oh no, I forgot to add an SDG that we work with. So I can still go in and edit this view and then continue out of it. Everything looks fine. I can go back to this and it's been updated in that case. So the submission isn't set in stone in that sense, so I can still make any corrections until the admin will get around to reviewing it. Then the next step that happens is the admin will, I expect them to approve my organization. So once that has been done, I will get access to the other activities on the portal. In this case, I'll show 3 different role actions or activities, and we'll start with the provider. So in this view, I'm just a provider, not a provider donor. And I have access to this kind of view now. So on the left-hand side on my organization page, I have this overview, which you can see here. And since I've not added anything to the portal just yet, because my organization was only recently approved, then it prompts me to submit a solution to the portal. I can also have a look at the future, the connections page, which at the moment is just empty because I don't have any connections yet. I will be able to see any solutions I have submitted in the future over here in the solutions tab. And then there's also the organization tab to see the same sort of view we saw before, only this time it will be in the status approved. And still I'll be able to edit things. So for example, if the entity undergoes rebranding, I'll be able to update the logo and such. And the final will be the users tab where I can manage other users with my organization. But the first thing we will do now is submit a solution. So if I click here, you can see a similar form to what we saw before with the organization. It's a 3-step form instead of a 4-step one, but with still the general and details view. So for a solution, I will have to provide the title, the sectors, the SDGs, what type of solution it is, and all of the countries or regions where it's eligible to be implemented. So if I fill this all out, I provided the title, done my selections over here, and selected a whole region where this works. So I can click continue. And now the details page, which is again similar to what we had before with a description. And optionally, as we saw with the one solution I showed you before, I can add any optional documents that are relevant here. And if I want to, a cover photo and a gallery. So let's do just that. I added the description, a couple of documents that are important for this solution. I added a cover photo and I wanted to do a whole gallery, so I added those in. And now clicking continue, I get this overview page of everything that I just typed in. It looks good to me, and then I'll be able to now publish it. So this time it doesn't go to the admin for review. They will be able to see that it was added to the portal, but because I am already representing an approved organization, then I can simply publish this to TEPP for anyone who might need this. And I can, of course, go back to the detail page, have a closer look at it. Now, if you look on the right-hand side here, as this is something that I added as it's my organization, I can completely see this opened up card view. So before it prompted me to, for another organization, it would show that I have to add an organization to start connecting with them. But for my own organization, I can see all of the details that are relevant here. And I will quickly go through the donor and the beneficiary views. For donors, it's a similar view, except the prompt is for funding opportunities, which opens up a very similar form, but with specific fields for this one. So the differences being that here we have things like funding range, contribution in kind, expected start period, funding type, and expected funding source. As a donor, I can fill these out. Some of these are not obligatory, so I chose to leave this empty. I click continue. I have once again the description, optional documents, optional media options here, and one extra field, website, which might be relevant for, it depends on the type of thing that I'm submitting as the opportunity. So in this case, I figured it's important, I added it. And by clicking continue, I get this overview page, I publish, and once again, I'm able to have an overview of this fully published funding opportunity. And finally, it's the beneficiary view. where we can submit a request. This provides me with, once again, a 3-step form, with the difference of this question here, where the beneficiary is asked to specify if they already have the funding required to implement the solution to the request they have. I fill this out. The next step is description and documents, as before. I fill these out, and then I can confirm if everything looks good, publish, and this will be the detail page for a request. Now, we can move on to the matchmaking once we have an organization set up and we are representing somebody. So in this example that I'm going through, I will be taking on the role of the beneficiary for these next 2 steps. So I'm a beneficiary looking to resolve an issue that I have. I need something, I need support with something. And in this case, I found that this particular provider here has exactly what I'm looking for. So I would like to get in touch with them and see if we can work on a partnership. I can go to their detail page, and since I'm now a beneficiary who has an approved organization and everything looks good on that, and then the text here changes into connect with the organization and start building a successful partnership. And I can click on send contact request, which is exactly what I will do. So that sends this provider a request on my end to get in, to start getting in touch with them, to start getting a partnership. And now I will show you what it will look like on the provider side of things. So as the provider, I can go into my organization, connections, and this will prompt me with this view, with the first tab being waiting for approval if there's any new requests. As you can see, a beneficiary has indeed sent me a request for contacts. So to know more about who they are, I can click into their detail page, which is the type of thing we saw before. And I can either approve or reject their requests for a match. In this case, I can see that I think we can help them. We can definitely support them. And I would like to approve this. So if I go here right now, you can see I have these 3 cards. But if I go back to, excuse me. So if I go back to this waiting for approval view and I click approve and go here, then now I have these 4 cards over here. And once I accept this match, then both I and the beneficiary are able to see in our connections page this opened up card where with all the details, including the email and the phone number that they have provided, which gives me the option of getting in touch with them and clarifying how we can support them. They can clarify the issue they're trying to resolve, etc. Now, a couple of final activities that we can do, or the views we can see. As an existing user, and this time I'm taking on the role of a provider donor. I have all of these menu items as I showed before. So let's click in. As you saw, the connections one, at the moment, nothing is waiting for me, but I always have access to things like the requested tab where there are matches that I'm waiting to get approved, and under accepted, the ones that I have already accepted on my end. For solutions, in this case, I'm a provider donor who's added 5 solutions to the portal, and I'm always able to access them and see them here. Then I also have my funding opportunities, since in this case, I am a provider donor, so 2 types of projects I can submit to the portal. Under organization, as we saw before, this time, instead of saying in review, this particular organization is approved. So everything is fine on that end. It's been published. I can go directly to my organization page from here. But like I mentioned before, if anything changes, let's say we update our logo with rebranding, maybe then I go into details and edit because I can see it's uploaded here, and I can make any changes that I need to, and then those will be just updated and added to the portal. So that's just easy management for the user. And then finally, we have the users tab, which is over here, the last one. So as I mentioned in the very beginning, if I'm a new authenticated user, but I already know that another colleague of mine has added this organization to the TEPP portal, then I'm able to join an existing one, and this will land then on this page, this request to join. So in this case, I am, let's say, Marianne Wilkins, I also have my colleague John, who has been added to this organization. So both of us are able to make changes to the organization, add solutions, add funding opportunities, and so on. And now one more of our colleagues wants to join this. We know that it's our colleague. I can see from this that it's him. I recognize the name, the email, everything. So now I have two options. I can either accept his request to join the organization or reject it. So I will approve it in this case. And before we had two names here, now we have three. And this will give my colleague access to the same types of menu items, and he will also be able to add solutions, add funding opportunities, and so on. And one final bit of things that we can do, in this case, we're using the example of something that our beneficiary would be able to see, is we have a beneficiary who has added 5 different requests to the TEPP portal. And now we want to take a closer look at this first one. So from the My Organization menu tab, this is how we see a published solution, not solution, but request in this case. As with the organization, we see the different sections that we filled out. So I can once again go in and edit any details if something changes, but I have 2 extra additional activities that I can do. So under Actions tab here, there's Unpublish and Delete. So with Unpublish, I can unpublish the project if I discover that maybe I still need it, but something needs to be changed, but we still need to talk about it with, let's say, colleagues or higher ups. So I can't keep it published until those things have been fixed and changed. So until then, I'll just unpublish it without losing the work I've done on this form. The other option, let's say, is delete. So as a beneficiary in this case, I can say that, oh, I found a solution for my request. I'm in touch with a provider, and we are already working on a partnership to resolve this. So I don't need to show this particular request on the portal anymore. So in that case, I can simply delete. It'll prompt me to confirm this action. And once I do that, it just gets removed. And now I only have 4 requests published on the TEPP. But in general, this concludes the main activities and actions that an end user can do. So for all 3 different roles, provider, donor, and beneficiary, it's a very similar process for all, with differences being in the types of things they can either provide or ask for. And yeah, I would like to then now pass the stage back to Inga, I suppose.
Well, with the presentations then, we can open up for questions. Both Lilith, who is part of the developers of the website, as well as Inga and Felipe are available to answer questions more on the specific strategies and objectives of the portal. So would anyone have any question? You can submit them via the chat, or you can indicate with the reactions button on the bottom of your screen if you'd like to speak.
Indeed, Rodrigo, we would like to encourage everyone to speak up. We are not a big group because we have split the webinar into the morning and afternoon session. So please don't be shy. Take it as an opportunity to ask your first questions, even though you haven't had chance yet to look at the portal's acceptance version, but you heard the nice presentation of Lily that really went into the details of each and different role of the registered user. And if there is any reflections you would like to share, that would be very valuable for us. Thank you.
Yes, Katrin?
Hi, this is Katrin from the Estonian Center for International Cooperation. Thank you very much for the overview. It's very useful. It's actually my first time seeing this portal, and it looks like a really good tool to use. My question is very simple. Is the portal? I understand it's not live yet, but is it possible to already enter data, like to enter organizations into it, and how does it work? Like, do I need some kind of credentials, or how does it work?
Yeah, Katrin, thank you very much for your question. Indeed, the portal is already developed, but it is in early acceptance version, which means that it is operational while we are still fixing the bugs. So this is why your feedback as as a registered user is very crucial to us. Yes, you could log in to the portal's acceptance stage. We shared the link in the invitation. We will gladly reshare the link after the webinar together with the survey. I will talk about the survey later on. And yeah, you can register your organization. Please, while registering, make sure that you are entering a real data, not a fake data. So first of all, because this data will stay in the acceptance version of the portal and later on will be migrated to the finally developed Team Euro Partnership portal. So it is very important that any data you put in there is the right data, is a current data of your organization and can be used in the future. And last but not least, also we see a question coming from the JZ colleagues. Thank you very much, Ophelia, for asking it. Who would be ineligible to be a beneficiary? For the time being, we are limiting the beneficiaries to the governmental organizations only, meaning the ministries or the institutions with a public service mission. Because they are the best place to identify the needs for the services and goods within their countries. I hope that this answers to the two questions.
Well, we have the confirmation from Ophelia that does answer her question. I'd like to invite any other participants. Taimo has shared on the chat the portal again, so you can have a look also.
Yes, thank you, Taimo.
Thank you.
Maybe I will take also an opportunity, as I already slightly talked about the survey. So after the webinar, Rodrigo and his team will send a link to the online survey, asking everyone once again to have a look at the acceptance environment of the Team Euro Partnership portal and feedback to us. So also that means register your organization in the first place, and later on also to try to think about whether your organization will be a provider or a donor, or maybe both. In such a case, you will be also asked to fill it in, the provider's fish and the donor's fish, in other words, online application form there. And also feedback to us in case you find that, for example, the portal is not user-friendly enough, or you have specific needs that are not yet reflected. This will really be of a very help to our developers, Taimo's team, and also to Lilith to reflect, brainstorm, and make the necessary changes while it's still possible. I looked at the participants list, and I see some colleagues from the European Union delegations. I think it's a Paraguay. So maybe something that could come up as a question, though I went through quickly at the beginning through the different key roles under the Team Euro Partnership portal, but I think it's very important to say that when it comes to the EU delegations, notably, you will not be neither beneficiaries, nor providers, nor donors. You will be those consulting the data, having a privileged access to the Team Euro Partnership portal. So, for example, to the interactive map and to all its details that can be downloaded from the database collected, in order also to help in your daily work when you do the policy dialogues or when you look for the right partners in the EU member states, to implement the EU-funded projects. So that is one role of yours. Secondly, of course, you will play a very important role in supporting DG INTPA, reaching out to the beneficiary countries. So, for example, to the governmental authorities, in order to promote the Team Europe Partnership Portal and encourage them to fill in the beneficiary simplified application form that requests to give a very short description about the ministry or other entity that would like to showcase their needs, pick up the right SDG, the sector code, and call for the EU member states entities actually to respond to the needs so that matchmaking would happen.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, Diana, we can hear you.
Yeah, I'm Diana from Delegation European Union in Paraguay. I have a follow-up question on what you commented. So EU delegations are not the donor, then INTPA itself would be a donor, or as organizer of the platform is not a donor at all, the European Union? Because by definition, we are one of the biggest donors in many countries. So it sounds like a bit weird. Can you clarify this?
Yes, thank you very much for your question. And as well a comment. I'm happy that my intervention has provoked it. So ultimately, we don't want to overload our colleagues in the EU delegations. And we don't see a need for each EU delegation actually to encode its application form being as a donor. Rightly said by you, the European Union, I'm saying European Union, including its member states also, is the largest donor around the world. So definitely the European Commission will have its own profile as a provider and as a donor. However, the profile will be not the one that we are asking to fill in by the regular registered users for a very simple reason, because the European Commission has different directorates general, and also it launches different call for proposals. So our goal is to create one page, for example, beneficiaries and donors profile, and link it in sort of like to have a one-stop shop where, for example, a private sector or public sector entities can come in, quickly read about the European Commission and find the different calls for proposals or calls for tenders in one page. It is also very important to clarify that our Team Europe Partnership Portal, or Matchmaking Portal as we call, is slightly different from the existing matchmaking portals. There are not many around the world, actually only 4, but the specificity of it is that we don't have a dedicated funding behind it. That means that this is the reason why we have a donor profile. And that's why we talk about the donors as, for example, institutions like European Investment Bank or EBRD, or even philanthropic organizations, So we distance ourselves as an EU because we have a programming exercise which cannot be associated to the ad hoc funding requests, And we also have a Team Europe initiatives. So we don't want to mix that. Our goal here is to really uplift the visibility of a Team Europe family, meaning the EU institutions, but also member states, and also uplift the visibility of existing European Union member states entities, being it a private sector entities, being it a public sector entities, in the eyes of our partner countries. So this is our thinking behind. And that this is the reason why, for example, your delegation will not be asked to register to the portal in order to fill in the application. You will have a specific access as a European Union institutions members through the ECAS passport, so the authentication, to get into the secured portal and to load the information that will be available there, without asking to register your entity and to fill it in, being it, providers or donors application form, which would not be the case, of course, for our colleagues from the member states. If I take the implementing agency, allow me to use as an example JZ, because we have colleagues and there is the question. So for example, personally, I would see JZ as an organization that would prominently be seen in the Team Europe Partnership Portal under the two profiles, as a provider, but also as a donor. Because same might apply, of course, for the French or Spanish or any big member state organization that has a very solid role in development cooperation, because even Team Europe initiatives show that you are not only have capacities to provide specific services to the partner countries and implement the projects, but you also have a possibility to fund certain activities. It could be that, for example, the matchmaking will happen between the different entities from the member states. It can be that you have a member state, let's say France, that has a specific interest to work in specific sector, specific region and country, and has a funding and presents itself as a donor. And for example, the other member state like Estonia or Lithuania or the Germany has a capacities to implement those projects. So we expect that the matchmaking will happen between the member state partners in the first place. So for example, in the form of a consortium, before going to the partner country, and responding to the needs that partner country will showcase in their beneficiary fish. Also, the interactive map, it will be here. You see just a print screen of the member states, but in reality, the map is a global world map. So where you can be easily able to identify the needs per sector and per SDG in the partner countries, while you will be also quickly be able to pin in which member state, which entity can respond to that need in the same sector and to respond to the same SDG. And that's as well will allow an easy matchmaking to happen, So Rodriguez, as I see that there are no further questions in the chat, maybe it's time to put the closing slide. And a little bit to explain what are our next steps, what we expect, and what we're going to do in coming weeks. Thank you, Rodrigo. Back to you.
Yeah, thank you, Inga. So as you said, for the next steps, as you can see on the screen, we'd recommend that you really access the link that we have available in the chat, but I'll also be sending it via email. You can get acquainted with the website, really check each section and each setting that you are available to you. You can access your profile and fill in your details. As Inga mentioned, it's really helpful that you already do that as faithful as possible, since this will be taken over to the live version of the webpage. And also you receive via email a survey to give us feedback on your experience with the portal, whatever questions you have, issues you might have encountered, suggestions on how to make it more accessible and better to fit your needs, as Inga mentioned. And this will be sent today after the meeting. It will be the survey and the link so that you can access the portal. So if there are really no more questions, I'd like to thank everyone for your availability and for joining us.